Welcome to part 1 in a series to introduce you to Green Beacon's retail supplier solution built within Microsoft Dynamics AX and how it addresses some of the current challenges facing the consumer packaged good industry. Let's start with using the philosophical reflection model that asks the questions what, so what, and now what. The what is the disruptive changes in technology occurring with regards to the interactions with our customers and vendors. Sites like Amazon, what is this doing to the distribution model within retail? We want same-day delivery from a warehouse 100 miles away. We want to be able to buy online and pick up in the store, or buy online and return to the store. There are concepts like showrooming, where consumers are instantly checking prices elsewhere. We have companies like H&M that are implementing fast retail. If your product is slow, it's removed from the shelf. Vending machines provide another channel to sell through. And finally, group buying with sites like Groupon, Foursquare, and Facebook have changed how items are bought and sold. We need to be asking questions about what's different today so I can understand where will I be tomorrow. We need to understand if our ERP system is set up for success or becoming irrelevant. And we really need to adapt to the changes in technology and customer-vendor interactions. If you are convinced that technology is changing the way CPG does business, then what does that mean for your channel planning? Does CPG need to change the way it deals with big box retailers? What kind of planning will grow groups of boutiques and single store outlets? Are manufacturers' e-commerce sites causing confusion? And are manufacturers becoming retailers themselves by opening their own retail outlets? And does the success of Amazon affect the overall channel strategy? Suppliers and retailers have been working toward improving collaboration, which means now they need to think like a retailer. We need to understand our customers' behaviors to cluster them into groups of destinations. We can integrate the point of sale data by customer location, which will then help us improve our vendor managed inventory and programs to allow for collaborative promotions, shared forecasting, which will hopefully eliminate inventory that isn't moving. The outcome of the pricing transparency across channels is thinner margins, which means the suppliers will need to think like a distributor as well. These thin margins must generate a high return on equity, and our investment in inventory drives what that return will be. Activity-based costing models provide us with more accurate numbers, where we can move from numbers that just keep score to those that drive action by evaluating the big data that we have to visualize and extract value. Now let's take a look at the retail supplier solution for Microsoft Dynamics AX. The first concept is around clustering, where we can define groups of customers by different demographics. The point of sale data then provides the store and consumer destinations we're selling to. We can utilize different product attributes and consumer attributes to determine what patterns are matches and then group those destinations. We'll create those cluster groups for planning purposes. Different clusters of customers and destinations will define what those cluster groups are. We can plan then using those different cluster types, so whether it's by volume, territory, some demographic, or a combination of multiple types. Within Dynamics AX, we can define the cluster groups, in this case income, that we want to create our stores by. Within the group itself, we can have different store groups. In this case, we have low, medium, and high income. And then by store group, we can have the specific stores that we want to sell to. The next concept is around program management, where we want to be able to manage all types of events across all channels in a centralized system. Within forecasting and planning, We know different individuals forecast different ways, so we want to allow them the freedom to forecast how they wish to, but at the same time apply workflow-driven approvals to assure completeness and accuracy. Forecasts then roll into a master plan, which sales and operations can then merge so they are all now on the same page. We can now take this into budgeting, where we can include all sales activity forecasts across all channels to sync those total budgets and forecasts, and then use that information for the execution of our channel plans, from the initial rollout through replenishment, promotions, and then closing out. Within Dynamics AX, we can have a collection of programs. In this case, I have them set up by channel. Within each program, we can set up the time frame for which this particular duration will last. We have different types of programs, so again, whether it's a rollout with replenishment, promotion, a closeout, etc., we can account for those different types. Within each program, we'll then select the collection of items, as well as the destinations that we're going to be distributing to. We can use our activity-based costing to assure that we're getting the true on-the-shelf landed costs that we're looking to track. And then we can forecast out the demand for our goods based upon the sell-through data we're receiving from our point of sale systems. Within the forecast, we can then select which forecast we wish to use. We can compare it to other forecasts or numbers that we've gathered within the system. We can then generate the forecast based upon our best idea of what we believe is going to be correct, and we're basing this on the sell-through information we're receiving from the point of sale systems. As we look to make the forecast as accurate as possible, we can show trends in terms of what the future might be based upon different indicators. So in this case, I have a regression line. We have different forecast models we can use to select which ones might be most appropriate for future demand based upon these trends, and then eventually go and update our forecast value based on the one we think is most appropriate. The main benefits we want to drive with our retail supplier solution is to provide demand-driven merchandise planning tailored for what mid-market retail suppliers need to remain relevant. We provide execution tools for standard VMI, SBT, promotions, and other supplier retailer coordinated programs, as well as compliance execution and tracking. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Look for future videos on our retail supplier solution, and visit www.retailsuppliersolutions.com or greenbeacon.com for more information. Thank you.